Good afternoon, grown black folks talk. Our topic today, traitors. I was visiting my friends Steve and Stephanie Woodford last night, and they showed me something that really disturbed me. I'm not going to name it. I'm not going to give any shine to the people who were involved. What I'm going to do is give us a frame to understand, because this is not the only kind of so-called music and entertainment of its type in the black community. We take a lot of cue about how we should think about things from people who want to justify our killing at will and who want to justify us being enslaved in private prisons. We take a lot of cues for what we should think about things from white supremacy. Let me give you a frame for this. Let me give you a summary of someone who supports black people existing in a civilized way, who represents the vast majority of us who are trying to live a civilized life in the United States of America, who give the lie to 398 years about us being savages who are no use if we're not enslaved to white people. This challenge involves black people talking about their willingness to forget about all the atrocities that have happened to us, to bleach their skin, to start wars, to bury their entire block, and to sacrifice family members to the devil just to have some casual sex. You know, the kind of casual sex that produces children who do not have a family structure around them that's going to allow them to get through the educational system and not end up in prison. And also spreads STDs through the entire community so that we are physically weaker and running back and forth to a medical industry that also sees us as guinea pigs and in general does not care if we survive. This is what black people were sitting up openly advocating. And there's some big names in here, none of whom I'm going to give any shine here. But they have enough spread so that this poison is being spread across, being shared by a lot of people. Such people are traitors. Yeah, let me say that again. If you are a black person who is promoting a family destroying, civilization destroying message, you're a traitor. And I'll tell you why. It's really simple. Our ancestors were brought here as slaves. The lie told to justify it was that in Africa, they were just savages. They were not able to hold their own civilization. They were having casual sex and spreading venereal diseases. This is who they were supposed to be according to Europeans, which justified the slave trade. But the record shows that our ancestors struggled for the privilege of being recognized as human. They struggled to keep their families together as they were being sold apart. They struggled to choose their family composition since the mothers could be raped at will. They struggled even to bury their own relatives because in some plantations, the owners felt like animals didn't deserve burial. So you risked your life to give a decent burial to your own relatives. You know, you struggled when you saw your husband, your wife, your children sold in all different directions. These people struggled to maintain their right that they had human dignity. And then in 1862, something happened. 1862, 1863, 180,000 black United States colored troops got up, defeated the Confederacy. They were part of it, a big part. They were the margin of victory. Abraham Lincoln said that. Beat up the people that wanted to keep them enslaved, defeated them, and we were free. And the first thing freed black people, they have this historical records, desperately trying to find their family members and put their families back together. They were not here to advocate just spraying kids here, there, and everywhere that no one had an intention to take care of. They had been through that because their children had been sold here, there, and everywhere. They were advocating putting things back together and building a civilization for themselves here because they built the country. Why should they have to leave? White people have been saying go back to Africa since 1865. Most of them weren't planning on going anywhere. So they go about the process of trying to build their families and build an economy. And by 1920, we had our own. We'd already started building our own colleges, universities, hospitals, insurance companies, businesses galore. And by the 1920s, we were buying our own towns to remake. So much so that a couple of white terrorists, several of them, had to bomb one from the air because they just were too jealous to stand it anymore. That's called the bombing of Black Wall Street, 1921. We were rolling such that they just couldn't deal with it. They had to start a war on us. They had to bury our entire block because they couldn't take it. That happened. And so You think our ancestors and our great grandparents and grandparents did all that so we can sit up and talk about civilization destroying behavior? I don't care what the person's name is. I don't care how popular they are. They are being well paid shills of white supremacy to destroy our community and to put out the lie again that we are savages with no control over our sexuality, putting and eating up with venereal disease who need to be under the control of white people for the world to be safe. Because this stuff now goes around the world. I don't care who you are when you hear this. I'm doing this video partially so that there is a record that a sensible black person who represents the vast majority of sensible black people, grown black folks, stood up against this. But it's time for all of us who care about the existence of our people in this country to stand up against this. Stop allowing money being spent through your household that you work hard to earn to go to any particle of anybody that you see putting out a message that advocates our destruction. Stop allowing it. Now, we can't shut this down entirely by ourselves because 60% of this kind of music is actually consumed by others who are being programmed to believe that we are savages. But we can't control what's not bought by us. We can't control what is bought by us. Because even if you have 20, 30, 40% of the margin of the profit of something, you have a lot of say about what happens. Find out who's supporting these people. When you hear music that would destroy your family and community, find out who puts support into them and starve out their businesses. We are the biggest consumers in the country, if not the biggest consumers on earth. Stop doing that with people who want to destroy you. Stop supporting this madness. I'm calling on grown black folks. If you have a problem with that, if you want to justify the destruction of the black community and you are black, you're a traitor. If you would put forth a message like that for money, you're a traitor. You are an embarrassment to all the black people that came before us that had to struggle so hard to survive to get us here. You are an embarrassment to African people who invented what we consider civilization today. You are an embarrassment to the parents of civilization, all the way back to the pyramids. That's who you are. You are a shame. You are a traitor. And you're being called out, and I don't care what your name is and what you think you've done. And for the rest of us grown black folks, we need to identify these people. Don't give them any shine, but identify who they are and take monetary steps to make sure they don't get any support from us. Enough is enough. Do not support traitors who are advocating your own destruction. Do not allow those that spend your money to do it. I don't care what they have to say, because if they're too young to understand that people are trying to justify them not being here except as prison slaves, they don't have a say. We are the grown black people. We shut it down. Thanks for listening.